Hey guys, it's Vanessa. I wanted today to discuss Banned Books Week and to kind of give you a more critical lens on Banned Books Week. Banned Books Week is an annual event that's put together by the American Library Association and the Office for Intellectual Freedom, and their main goal is to talk about our freedom to read, and there are a lot of events that celebrate this week. I wanted to discuss a more critical view of Banned Books Week because in the program that I'm doing and just in papers that I read for my classes, I have come across some pushback to the idea of Banned Books Week and what it's meant to accomplish, and also by the way that it's framed by the Office for Intellectual Freedom and librarians in general. It is a very black and white conversation that happens during Banned Books Week, and there's a lot more going on that we don't really talk about to our patrons because the conversations are more thorny and, they're just more difficult to have. So I wanted to run through some of the critical analysis of other librarians and library workers who have thought about the subject, and also add to their ideas in the way that I see it as well. Banned Books Week was started in 1982 by Judith Krug and other librarians who were a part of the ALA's Office for Intellectual Freedom. Judith Krug was the director for the Office for Intellectual Freedom, and she had had that position since 1968, so she had been there for quite a while before Banned Books Week started in 1982. The whole reason why it really started is she got calls from vendors about how books were being quote-unquote banned. She was really outraged by this, as well as everybody in the office, so they decided, we need to do something here. They decided to put all of these books inside of a cage and put locks all around it to kind of symbolize what it meant for all these people to be trying to ban these books from being put out there in the world. 6 weeks later is when they started the first Banned Books Week, and it's kind of ballooned from there. Every time that I go to a library during a Banned Books Week, there's definitely displays that call attention to the freedom to read. So let's discuss the critical views of Banned Books Week. The way that Banned Books Week is framed to us is very simple. It's important to me to kind of discuss what Banned Books Weeks is like and means now, and what I think the conversation should be more like. One big argument is that the ALA's definition of banned books is very self-serving. Usually what they say banned, it's not really banned. It's really difficult for us to find a case where a book was truly banned. This has a lot to do with librarians pushing back, but just the fact that they use the term banned so easily kind of diminishes and tries to paint a really simple picture. These books are still readily available for the most part. When they say banned, what they mean is typically that someone, and that's usually a parent, is arguing that a book is inappropriate for their child and for children in general. 70% of challenged books, according to the ALA, come from school libraries. They definitely go back to parents concerned for their child. They're not usually going to be with malice, but the way that librarians and Banned Books Weeks really phrases it is these concerned parents who are really trying to, for the most part, the majority of parents are looking out for their children. They are the malicious people here who are trying to keep you from reading this very important book. Saying a book is banned means that the public is the one that is the bad guy there. And librarians in this situation, by upholding these books and making sure that these books are still available in their libraries and calling attention to these books that these people were trying to quote-unquote ban, librarians are the heroes in this situation. Another point that comes to this discussion is the idea of selection versus censorship. And that idea, I think, is one of the most important ones in this discussion. Selection is the process that librarians use to choose what books end up in your libraries. And selection is actually more often than not the reason why there aren't books in your libraries, not censorship. Because librarians can't and don't purchase every book, they just don't have the means to do that, they get to choose what books end up in their libraries. Librarians are probably going to be more likely to not purchase really controversial books because of any backlash that they might face that might lead to kind of a PR problem for the library. They're more likely to select books that are not as controversial and select books that are popular, right? There are plenty of books that have purpose in a library, that could have a purpose in a library, that never get to a library. Librarians could definitely select materials on topics such as LGBTQ health, sex education, evolution, gun laws, etc. But these are a lot more controversial topics, and therefore librarians are probably a little bit more hesitant to select those books. Banned books lists are all usually very popular books. They are usually books that are even assigned to read in school. They are books that librarians could rally around because the majority of them, if not all of them, have literary merit and themes that librarians could fight for. Like, you're never gonna see a librarian say, yeah, Harry Potter should be banned and it shouldn't be in our libraries, because the themes and the messages that J.K. Rowling explores in her books are very important and have literary merit. So librarians much more easily can fight to make sure that these popular books that mean a lot to people are going to remain in libraries more often than they can push the people that they work with, especially higher ups, to make sure that they are selecting books such as the ones I mentioned previously about LGBTQ health, sex education, evolution, gun laws, and other controversial topics of that sort. We can fight for the former more than the latter. And last but not least, Banned Books Weeks is oftentimes as far as a conversation goes. Once a year we discuss this topic and then we never bring it up again. And it's also framing the idea that banned books are all there is to the conversation of intellectual freedom and censorship. Banned books lists use very specific language to describe why books have been banned or challenged, such as it's sexually explicit, it's unsuitable for children, it has LGBTQ characters and content, it has offensive language and content, and it has mature themes. We should be talking about that with our patrons. Why is it that these books are disproportionately always the ones being discussed as inappropriate? Last year, I thought the ALA went an interesting way. They focused Banned Books Week around the topic of diversity and inclusivity. It illuminated the fact that the majority of books that are challenged or banned are ones that have diverse content. And they discuss issues that are affecting our patrons, but we don't talk about why people are trying to stop our patrons from reading these books. So we need to get more into discussing why diverse books are disproportionately the ones that are targeted for challenging and banned. And these are, I think, issues that we should be talking a lot more within our communities and with our patrons when they step into our libraries. And this is something that should be talked about year-round. So yes, this discussion is a lot more difficult than, oh, I read banned books, oh, I'll take a picture next to a banned book display with like a cage and locks all around it. At the end of the day, I think Banned Books Week is important because at least for a week in a year, they call attention to intellectual freedom and censorship. That's great. But I feel kind of weird about the fact that the majority of the time, the way that it's framed makes it seem like it's cool or hip to read dangerous books, and that libraries are your heroes championing for your right to read whatever the heck you want to read, without forcing libraries and librarians to discuss the bigger issues happening in the background of why parents and why people in general are coming to libraries and saying, like, I really don't think this book is appropriate. It diminishes our ability to really look into the content of the books that are being challenged and banned. I think that's a way more interesting discussion, a lot more nuanced discussion, than it is to just do a simple Banned Books Week display. Nothing against those displays because they are cool and they bring attention to it, but definitely it would be a lot more interesting to get a little deeper on these issues. So I'll end this video, I think, in a lighter tone and discuss some books that have been challenged or banned that I've read that have been in the lists from 2001 until 2016. So in the past 15 years. These are all the books that I found on those lists that I've read in my life. For children and young adults: Harry Potter, TTYL, Fallen Angels, Forever, The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, The Hunger Games, 13 Reasons Why, Looking for Alaska, and George. For adults, I've read Of Mice and Men, Beloved, To Kill a Mockingbird, and My Sister's Keeper. And from graphic novels, I've read Persepolis, Saga, Drama, Fun Home, This One Summer, and Sex Criminals. And it shows you too how these books are very popular, and they're never books that are going to be hard to find in a library. They're going to remain readily accessible to you. Why do we call it Banned Books Week? And should we really be rephrasing how we talk about banned books and how we talk about like content that people are challenging in their libraries? I made a Banned Books Week video last year that was connected with Diversathon and Slowathon, and I read a lot of quote-unquote banned books last year that I really enjoyed. I don't mean this in the we should just even forget about these banned books lists, because I do think that they say a lot about people who frequent libraries, and I think they say a lot about the state of the culture wars and how we think about really important topics like sex education and sexuality, gender fluidity, you know, really controversial topics, especially when it comes to talking about children, which is where the majority of these challenges come from. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.